back to This Is How We Create. My name is Martine Severin, your host. I want to talk to you about avocado toast this morning and about how artists find their worth. So, story time. Every morning, I slide my avocado toast on a ceramic plate made by a previous guest on the podcast, whose name is Danielle Chuchinthuranan. And each time I slide my avocado toast with bread that we've made ourselves, by the way, because we're those people. Each time I just feel this sense of peace and this joy that I'm using something that Danielle's hands were on, that she created. So each time that I mash my avocados on homemade bread and slide it on Danielle's plate, I'm not just having breakfast, but I'm really having a moment when someone's hands, someone else's vision, someone else's care enters my morning routine. Now, this plate that Danielle created isn't necessarily what you would pay for a plate at Target, but I don't care because a Target plate or a plate from whatever IKEA, it just doesn't have that feeling. When you are being hired, when you're being commissioned, people aren't just paying you. They don't hire you for your services. They hire you for you. They hire you because they're borrowing your eyes and your perspective. Last week, I was on a call with a client and they told me something that kind of shifted and kind of made me really proud. Essentially, they really shifted my way of understanding why people hire me as a photographer. There's this creative director who came on the Zoom call and she says, I don't hire people for photos. I hire you. I'm hiring you because I looked at your portfolio and I saw how you make people feel like they're really loved. Oh my goodness. Oh, now this makes me think of the reason why I became a photographer, but that's a story for another time. And I was really touched. And I felt like I was just going to cry right there on the Zoom. Now, this reminds me of something I learned from Thelma. She says something about the economy of vision. That is, artists are operating not in the economy of objects or services, but vision itself, the way only you can see. Thelma talks about how Black artists, especially, have always known this, that our way of seeing, our particular gaze, has so much value because that value comes precisely because it's been historically excluded from defining beauty, worth, as well as importance. And friend, that client named something that I'd never put on a proposal. I photograph people the way that I would think somebody who really loves them photograph them, like their mother would see them on their best day. It is so hard to capture tenderness or to create tenderness because that tenderness has a specific quality of attention. And that's what attracts people to my work. Not necessarily expertise or what equipment I'm using or maybe my aesthetic. My aesthetic and the tenderness comes together. But this creative director hired me for the tenderness as well as for how it aligned with the vision of a photo shoot and a campaign that they were working on. It's all about you and how you show up. I started understanding that I am not in the business of taking photos. I'm in the business of producing a specific promise or delivering on a specific promise. Now I am hired because people want me for a job. And that happened because I stopped being a photographer and I started understanding that I am in the business of delivering on a very specific promise. And what is my promise? My promise is embedded in the values that I have that's connected with Martine Severin photography. The promise is I will see tenderness, I will see joy, and I will make others feel it too. Now, I think Thelma Golden would call this your cultural position. Thelma Golden spent her entire career showing how artists like Carrie James Marshall or Carol Walker are going beyond making paintings because they're offering a new way of seeing that literally didn't exist in the visual economy before. They're seeing the world and they're bringing their own perspectives in. And your promise is different. It has to be different, right? Because you're not Kara Walker. But maybe you're the designer who makes brands that feel like they have a secret they're about to share. Wouldn't that be cool? Maybe you're the illustrator who is who does such a great job, who does a really great job of making people feel like they're in on the joke. Or maybe you're a ceramicist who makes everyday moments feel like ceremonies, kind of like what Danielle does. As you think about your work, the question isn't about what your value is, it's really about what your promise is. And more importantly, I would think that most people who are curators and who love art, they would say, what is one thing that nobody else can see that you can share with the world? And going back and thinking about Thelma Golden, I think about how she navigates between worlds, how she can sit with collectors and speak about important and investment potential. Then she can turn around and discuss with artists what is it about their work that's revolutionary and about the revolutionary act of centering Black life in fine art spaces. And these contradictions, well, one would say that these things are contradictory, but I don't think they are because so often what will make your work stand out is because you are adding layers upon layers upon layers. Your message that you're delivering is going to be multifaceted. And now, when someone commissions you, they're buying something commercial, likely, right? They're hanging your work on their walls or they're commissioning you to illustrate a book, but they're also buying into your aesthetic universe. They're buying into your cultural perspective. They're buying into your symbolic weight, what you bring to the world. These are all what I think are simultaneous values because your work is going to be able to operate on so many different levels all at once. Because we're complex human beings, it only makes sense that our work would do the same. And the thing is that you don't have to choose which is real, which of these layers is real. An executive who hires you to do headshots, maybe they're just buying professional values, they're buying professional images, I don't know, for LinkedIn, or maybe they might be securing you for your aesthetic value. They might be hiring you because you have a specific eye for light and composition. There's also something called a cultural value. The cultural value is the way that you see professional women, especially women of color, as powerful rather than needing to prove their power. There's something also called symbolic value. People might hire you because your work represents something that someone's always been searching for. Or they might hire you for your intrinsic value. And your intrinsic value is going to be your compulsion to find beauty where others might miss it. All of these are very real and all of these are worth it and worth whatever fee that you have, right? Because the trick, as I think Thelma Golden would say, is to know which language to speak when you are in a room. This is where you can figure out which value you're bringing in. Is it intrinsic? Is it aesthetic? Is it cultural? Because this is where your specific point of view will meet whatever it is that they're looking for. Now, this is an aside, right? The woman who did my headshot that I use everywhere, I'm going to reach out to her again to do headshots. And the reason why I'm reaching out to this photographer to do headshots is because I'm reaching out to her for her aesthetic value because she sees the world in a way that I find to be truly beautiful. And I want to see myself in a way that she sees the world. And I want to swim in her world of beauty, if you will. So let's talk about something called productive discomfort. This is going to be the moment where your specific vision challenges what people think they want and what they want, right? That's going to be the value itself. I've had this conversation with a friend who's an illustrator. So she draws these haunting, beautiful figures with impossible proportions and dreamlike scenarios. A tech startup approach her for a fun, approachable illustration for their app. She almost said no because she thought that her style was too weird, too specific, and too much. But I think about like what transformation are these people actually seeking? So they said we want users to feel like they're entering somewhere special, right? Somewhere that doesn't follow normal rules. Now, my friend, her weird, this is what she says, right? Her weird was exactly what they needed. They just didn't have a language for it. And this is what we mean about creating a language for your own value. What does that mean? It means that sometimes you have to teach people how to want what only you can give. And so this is where we're going to start talking about like the business of being seen. I want you to try something for me. And this is something that I learned from Thelma Golden because I stalk her. Yes. I want you to stop defending your fees and I want you to start educating your clients about your position. So instead of saying something like, my rate is X because of my experience, try something like, my work comes from a very specific cultural aesthetic position that allows me to capture what others might miss. Not bad, hey? Instead of saying, I take brand photography, you could say, I create images from a perspective that centers tenderness in professional spaces. Will everyone get it? Probably not. But you know what? You don't have to worry because not every collector is your collector. Not every client is your client. Your job as an artist is to be very clear about your vision so that the right people will find you. Your job is going to be about positioning yourself in larger conversations about value, about vision, and voice. You want to make space for for you to say, my way of seeing is worth precisely this because it is mine. Now, this isn't coming from a place of ego, but from honesty about how vision work. So, from breakfast, let's talk about homework. Okay, so tonight, what I want you to do is to look at your recent work and ask yourself these following questions that might help you rethink about your relationship with your work. What can I see that others can't see? What positions do I create? What cultural, aesthetic, symbolic value am I offering beyond just creating work, commercial work? And how can I own all of these values simultaneously without apology? That's a lot. And it's going to take you some time to do, maybe a week or so, but write it down. But don't do something very professional. Do it like a real version. Write down and acknowledge all 5 values of your work. Talk about the ones that you own and talk about how you can integrate some of the other ones in your work if it makes sense. Every time you're in your car, rehearse your rates, rehearse your elevator pitch. And remember that you're not defending a price or a fee. You're really going to switch into educating others about your work and your value. So that's it for now, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of This Is How We Create. You can reach us at thisishowwecreate_. All my information is in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay creative, my friends. Hi there. If you're loving the show, would you mind taking a quick second to leave us a 5-star review on your favorite go-to podcast app? While you're at it, subscribe to our Substack newsletter, Creative Matters. You can find the link to subscribe in the show notes. All right, that's all that I have for you today. Bye.